This is the Amalek video where we explain that the Jeremiah Schwartz CIA ritual to steal me, and of course produce numerous videos using all of my material, has had the most diabolical and profound and devastating effect on the rulers of the West, which of course are the Rothschild family, and their country, which of course is Israel. Israel will be destroyed because of Jeremiah Schwartz and the CIA. So here's Amalek. Amalek always destroys the Jew God, Jew creation, and everything Jewish. Full rendition of this in A. Waite's Holy Kabbalah. Now, we've got loads of stuff here, but every Jew creation, there we are, Jeremiah Schwartz again. Thank God for Jeremiah Schwartz. Because of Jeremiah Schwartz and the CIA, Amalek has taken over all creation, and the Jew God is extinguished, and whatever was in the Jews, Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk, have been ripped out and are screaming in only hell. Why? Well, as we've explained before, Lucifer is the unknown part of chaos. The architect, the Jew God, is the strange attractor of chaos. And unless Lucifer can be defeated, Lucifer eats alive like a parasitic wasp larvae in a caterpillar, eats alive the Jew God. Now, the Jews have prophesied that there'd be the 8th king of Edom. It's in A. Waite's Holy Kabbalah, who would save Israel. And of course this was the basis for them trying to steal me and put me into this imbecile Jeremiah Schwartz to then defeat Lucifer, incorporate Lucifer and to become Satan as an aspect of an agent of the architect, and save everything Jewish, the Jew God and its creation. That was the whole purpose of the CIA and Jeremiah Schwartz. Because you must have wondered, why haven't the CIA or Mossad simply come to Nha Trang and riddle me with bullets? It's, they've got loads of mind-controlled slaves. Instead of Tim Rifat tormenting the vermin, protecting their worst enemies, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un, why haven't they simply sent a disposable with a firearm to try and shoot him? Well, they can't, because they're trying to steal me. They can't shoot me dead in Nha Trang. They need me in the facility to do the soul transfer. So shoot me dead in the tram would be the end of the world for the Jews, the Jew God, and everything Jewish. They knew this, of course. So they had to get me back into the UK with the Judases, who would set up the drug sting, lawfare, and the Vietnamese, of course, can't have a drug dealer, drug baron in their country, extradite to the UK, and Obama, who of course is a Satanist, paedophile, murderer, according to News Punch, the People's Voice. I can't comment on that because we're on YouTube. But he went to see Sunak to have me extradited double quick under the Espionage Act to America, into Elon Musk's torture facility for the vivisection, for the soul transfer to the person that had been stealing all of my stuff, stick it on YouTube with the CIA productions to save Israel, the purported living cat, with me being the dead cat. Now, of course, this didn't go according to plan because remember, the CIA and MI6, MI5 are full of paedophile imbeciles who can only pick on children because they are the lowest form of filth, and picking on adults is too much for these verminous nerdocrotics who just be beaten to a pulp in a schoolyard. They're always the bullied, ugly, imbecile retards. Now, since we've opened the box, this creature, Jeremiah Schwartz, couldn't get my power to control Lucifer, because remember, I've won the bet Lucifer is my slave. So if they could steal my soul, then the Jews, a la Jeremiah Schwartz, who uplines to the Rothschilds, could control Lucifer and stop Lucifer taking over all of the Jew creation, the Jew God, and over-hellizing it to grow into Amalek, the other god that always takes over the entire Jew God and its creation. So you can see the big picture here. You can see why the Israelis are screaming about the Amalekites, because they know the danger. Was Hitler an Amalekite? No, because he was a Jew. His father was Nathaniel Rothschild, who raped his maid. So you can see why the Jews are going crazy about Amalek, because they know now Lucifer has turned into Amalek and the Jew God is no big ally. See, there we are, another one. You can see the amount of effort that the CIA have been pumping into this character. If you didn't believe me, just look on YouTube. Look up all the CIA productions of this Jew poster boy for the CIA. The stolen Tim Refat. There, that's supposed to be me, stolen with all my power in that imbecile. Now we can see it, it's all ended. Why? So if you're a vampire, you now know that all of your vampire services are feeding off the Jews, the Americans, all Westerners, the aliens, everything created by the Jew God, its creatures and creation. This is all the aliens, because I have redefined reality so that all aliens are Jewish and have suffered the fate of the CIA, Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk. I know this is a bit alienist, but as a mad Muslim, they're not Muslims, so they're infidels. So, chop off the alien heads after making them soulless. So, you bought your little vampire service for $600, but it gives you total dominion over the universe, multiverse, megaverse, apart from the enemies of the CIA, of which that would be the Russians. Apart from the Russians and trying to run away, the Navalny supporters, the North Koreans, under the leadership of my most favourite person, Kim Jong-un, and those Chinese that aren't supporting the WEF and are part of the conspiracy, and the BRICS nations and those not in the BRICS nations who aren't uplining to the Rothschilds. So that's quite a large number. We're seeing that the righteous are growing thanks to the survival of Vladimir Putin. He's single-handedly making a lot of the human race righteous. One of the unintended consequences of saving his life and healing him. Because you know me, I'm up for as much collateral damage as possible. Now, just to show that the CIA, Jeremiah Schwartz, soul-stealing ritual, and of course I control Lucifer, so they were desperate to control Lucifer, has failed. We look at the woman who was having sex with this Jew boy. And was supposed to be a sex slave, and see how powerful Jeremiah Schwartz and the CIA are.
His primary source of education is through YouTube. He will watch other people's YouTube videos and create his own idea about what it means. Most oftentimes does not watch the entire YouTube video. And then he will share his own interpretation. What Jeremiah does is he actually, in every single one of his videos, he is describing what he is personally experiencing in that moment and then teaching it as if he is like this all-knowing being with every single personal problem. And oftentimes what's also happening is he has clients or people will message him or whatever, and automatically he starts to believe that their problems are actually something inside of him. Like if you are a client of his, he believes full-heartedly that you guys are experiencing the exact same thing in that moment. So with that being said, I'm going to go on to discussing a little bit about the exploitation that he does through his clients. And this is something that I heard while I was actually living with him. There was a woman, and I don't mean to displace aspects of confidentiality. I don't know who this person is. I only heard the conversation itself. And this woman was experiencing a very severe domestic violent relationship. Jeremiah's advice was that she was in resonance for it, and so therefore it's up to her to learn from that, and she's supposed to stay in that relationship to experience pain from her childhood again. That something from her childhood made her in resonance for that domestic abuse to happen, and it was ultimately her fault. When he left that conversation, and as I'm sitting there, because I'm working on my own things, I was writing my book at that time actually, and I began writing another book while I was there, but he leaves that conversation after that call, and he comes to me and goes, I really think that I spoke into her so that way she starts to get it. There was another client that had been in prison that Jeremiah was convinced that he knew exactly what it was like to be in prison. Jeremiah's never been to prison. He had been arrested. He has never been to prison. And so he's sitting there talking to this client, yelling at his client, actually, by the way. Him and his client were both yelling, but primarily because Jeremiah is speaking into him, telling him that he knows exactly what it's like to go to prison because he's been there before. He's already been through everything that this other person has been through. Going back and forth, yelling with his client. I'm sorry, but that's despicable, because if you've never been to prison, you don't actually know what it's like. Other people's problems are not your problem. It's up to you to guide people back into themselves when you're doing a mentorship, and it's disgusting. This is just one thing out of many. There was a woman that apparently had green and orange hair, and he described her as disgusting and displeasing to speak to. So there's a lot of people that he exploits. Now, this is something that I experienced in my own mentorship with Jeremiah, which at this time I was trauma bonded to him because of the way that he words things. He was also utilizing psychic vampirism. So one of the things that I experienced was a rape when I was 18 years old. This man was in his 40s, and it was at beauty school, and I was pregnant at this time with another guy's child, which I ended up ultimately losing. But I stayed at this person's house because at this time I was going through a domestic violent relationship where I didn't know if I was going to get beaten or hurt severely when I got home. And so this person offered for me to come over, and basically I got raped during that period of time. Jeremiah automatically started vampirizing me, and I wrote it off as I just did some very deep somatic integration work, even though my memory of that entire conversation was completely stripped. And I remember blaming myself inherently for that entire experience of what I experienced when I was 18, okay? So there's a lot of different things that I experienced. Another thing is I was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. When I started working with him in our mentorship, he didn't know what dissociative identity disorder was. He looked at me like I was crazy. A few months later, he's posting about dissociative identity disorder and his own fragmentation that he apparently has, where he has alters. He doesn't have alters. And then he's also talking about how everyone has multiple personality disorder. I am sorry, but from a mental health standpoint, that's not how that works. We all have ranging personalities. We all have complexities. We all have different emotions. This does not mean that you experience dissociative and cognitive amnesia where you have a walk-in soul taking over your body from time to time. It's not the same. And when I saw him posting this, I was actually a little bit frustrated because I felt like I was being exploited. But then there was a part of me where he has a large audience, and so some of this information, not all of it, could be helpful. So I let it go. And throughout this period of time, I did truly believe that there were aspects of a soul tie with him. And I'm actually going to pause this video for a moment. For any single one of you that saw the twin flame video that I created with him, I want you to know that I am so fucking deeply apologetic for that, because a lot of people had this idea and false hope and romanticized our relationship. And the way that he speaks, getting into your subconscious mind, made you believe that it was real, and I'm sorry. And every single person that had to grieve that within themselves or grieve a twin flame within themselves after that video, I'm sorry. Because I know that that video hurt a lot of people, and that was completely irresponsible of me to even allow that to take place. And there's a lot of things that I allowed to take place, and I take responsibility for all of it. I am very, very deeply apologetically sorry. So I'm actually going to backtrack for a moment because I told you that I would basically describe how to reverse the ritual if that's something that you want to do, because I think that it's important.
So we see Jeremiah Schwartz's Witch Destroyer on YouTube. If you don't believe me, here it is. This is the CIA's only hope against Tim Refat. And remember, females look at chaos, males look at the source. So if Jeremiah wants to steal me, he has to look at the source to steal me, but she's just pulled him into chaos down Feigenbaum period doubling. So here we've got Feigenbaum period doubling. So the male faces this way, the female faces that way. We've seen that the CIA's thief of yours truly has been pulling the CIA and Jeremiah Schwartz all the way down here and this grey zone. So all of you vampires should be using that lady as your mirror, like I used William Rothschild to burn LA, to collapse the quantum wave function of the CIA, the Jews, the entire West, using her to pull Jeremiah Schwartz, who was supposed to become me, into Omega Hell. So the ultimate weapon system for you as vampires is that young lady, and you need, when you do all of your psychic warfare on everyone that's become me via Jeremiah Schwartz, 100 monkey effect, is her, and then all of your vampire services will work to drain all the Americans, Westerners, Jews, aliens, everyone in the world who uplines to the Rothschilds, the aliens across the entire megaverse, multiverse, universe, using your Queen Witch, who, of course, has put her energy into Jeremiah Schwartz, who was supposed to be me, but is now the dead cat and is Omega Hell. So, the most vital part of every vampire service is to have her playing in the background while you do your psychic warfare, vampirism, on your torture toys. Now, there was a bet between myself and Lucifer, because remember, I've got Lucifer as my eternal slave, but Lucifer develops into Amalek, which is the god of all creation, multiverse, megaverse, which is the only god of chaos. The Jew god is simply the torture toy. So, we had a bet. If Lucifer, now Amalek, could get Dua, the Muslim Nagwal woman, which we explained before, to marry me, I would then have the double or quits bet. Lucifer, Amalek could no longer, it would no longer be my slave, and all his power would go back to Amalek, and Amalek could rule all of chaos as his own fiefdom, which has been the remit. But if Dua, the Muslim Nagwal woman, followed Katy Perry, who got engaged to the Jew boy, she would then be Omega Hellized, and Amalek would then be my total slave, and all the power of Amalek would now be mine, which is not Lucifer. Lucifer's growing into Amalek and is the true god of all creation and creations, multiverses, megaverses, would be mine. And this was the bet. Of course, Amalek failed, and Dua got engaged to the Jew slave owned by Hollywood, Callum Turner. God, I love this. And he, of course, is one of Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk, because he's an actor who uplines, and his whole career depends upon the Jews in Hollywood that upline to who? But the Rothschilds. So with this bet, I took full control of Amalek, and I've always been in control of Amalek for all of eternity. Let's just look at this wonderful little short.
Her proposal. Her exes were absolutely suffocating. Recently, Dua was spotted wearing a huge diamond ring while on a date with Callum, sparking engagement rumors. The two look like a perfect match. However, this isn't Dua's first relationship. Dua's first love was model Isaac Carew, but as Dua's career became busier, they barely had time to date. Isaac seemed to be advising Dua not to focus too much on her career, which deeply frustrated her. They eventually broke up due to scheduling conflicts. While dating Anwar Hadid, they frequently attended events together and even adopted a dog. After their relationship ended, they fought over custody of the dog. In the end, Dua won this battle and often shares pictures with the dog on social media. Last year, Dua attended Paris Fashion Week hand in hand with Romain Grava, but this relationship didn't seem to end well. After their breakup, Romain complained to the media that Dua was a workaholic. Although her exes had strong opinions about Dua's career, Callum is very supportive of her and expressed his excitement for her 2025 tour. This is the main reason why Dua agreed to the... No wonder Dua Lipa agreed to Callum.
So, as you can see, all of the news source that's provided by the Omegalization of the Jew God and everything Jewish and its creation, instead of going into Dua, comes to me, because she's given her energy to the Jeremiah Schwartz clone, Callum Turner, who of course is the slave of the Hollywood Jews who are applying to the Rothschilds. So Amalek lost the bet to me, and from now on, the Psylord Tim Rifat is the complete master of Amalek and all the Amalekites. Thank you, CIA and Jeremiah Schwartz. I just keep growing. Now, if I'm you, CIA, please come up with a new cunning plan and a new Jeremiah Schwartz, because whatever you come up with, it just makes me bigger and more powerful.
Fans, you won't believe the Christmas surprise she got. Pop sensation Dua Lipa is officially engaged. Boyfriend Callum Turner popped the question during a romantic Christmas proposal. The couple, who have been dating for over a year, are so in love and thrilled to share this news. Fans first caught wind of the engagement when Dua flaunted a massive diamond ring on Instagram. According to sources, they're planning a big celebration with friends and family on New Year's Eve. It's been an incredible year for Dua, with hit singles and sold-out shows. And now, this engagement is like the cherry on top. Friends and family couldn't be happier for the duo.
So, now Amalek, the destroyer of everything Jewish and the Jew God, and of course Israel and the West, and all who upline to the West, is my slave. We've got Amalek poised to wipe out Israel, and of course America with a suitcase nuke going into the Gigafactory, or a Tesla parking lot with a suitcase nuke. If you don't believe me, let's look at what's coming to Israel. got underground missile city ready to destroy Israel. If you don't believe me, here are all the reports.
Iran wasn't 3 days away from having a nuclear bomb. But because of you, Jake, you're the national security advisor. It's your responsibility. They are on the cusp of having it if a political decision is made. How do we get to this point, Jake? How do we get to the point where Iran has ballistic missiles that are threatening Israel and Israel can't do anything to defend it because your Iron Dome that you worked with Israel didn't work? Syria fell, but is that what you wanted, Jake?
Judge Napolitano and Scott Ritter, who's a blowhard and thought October the 7th was the greatest victory for the resistance to Israel, and now has had to eat his own words. But nevertheless, in this clip, he's revealing that, there we go, Iran's 3 days away from a nuke, and Israel is so tiny that one nuke on Israel with its electric cars converted to cobalt-60 would wipe it out. And it's got all those ballistic missiles in those underground cities. Not one, but according to Crux, at least two, but there are loads more buried sites. So Israel is facing destruction. Israel will be attacking Iran with the Americans under Trump, run by the Jewish lobby, attacking Israel. And of course Iran will be destroyed, turned into glass. That's a done deal. Getting rid of the satanic version of Islam, which this mad Muslim Psylord is all for. But unfortunately, Israel will die in the process, because remember, they can even stick cobalt-60 that they produce in their medicinal reactors on the end of their missiles, and pepper Israel with cobalt-60. Apart from the nukes they can drop on Israel, turned into cobalt-60 by any electric car in the ground zero. So Israel is facing certain destruction, and Iran, of course, has to be wiped out because it's the satanic version of Islam, and as a Sunni Muslim and supporter of the liberators of Syria and their backers, the Turks. I remember my father was a Turkish Cypriot. I'm all for the immolation of Iran, but unfortunately, because Amalek controls all creation, Israel will be destroyed, and there's no timeline where Israel is not destroyed by what's going to happen. And of course, since Amalek controls reality, the suitcase nuke that detonates in a Tesla parking lot or a gigafactory that wipes out America happens because Lucifer has turned into Amalek, and everything Jewish, which of course is America and Israel, is going to be destroyed. So, thanks to the Rothschild royal family that ordered Dewar to get engaged to this Hollywood slave, I won the bet with Amalek, which is Lucifer taking over all of creation to become the true God, which, of course, if you don't believe me, look at our Pope video where the Pope declares that Lucifer is the true God of creation. Oh, that's impossible. No, look back in the past videos, you'll see, thanks to News Punch and the People's Voice, the Pope declaring it and opening all the doors to unleash Lucifer to become Amalek. the silent Tim Rifat won the bet thanks to the Rothschild royal family, and the Muslim Nagwa woman who got full of the sauce, as we explained before, lost it all when she had sex with the Jew Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk, Callum Turner, the glove puppet of the Hollywood Jews. Lost all the sources, all of her light, which of course came into yours truly. Now, since I'm in total control of Amalek, the other god, I've become the Jewish Messiah, because I control Amalek. Amalek's my total slave. So, without me, the Jews are going to be exterminated. So when I said I was the Messiah, yes, I am. I'm the Jewish Messiah. So, isn't it ironic that the Jewish Messiah is a mad Muslim who isn't madly keen on Jews and controls Amalek, and is the only control over Amalek who destroys everything Jewish, the Jew god Israel, America, the West, thanks to Dua Lipa, a Muslim, getting engaged to an infidel. And she, of course, comes from Kosovo, where the Christians were killing her people. So, of course, she marries an infidel, gets engaged to marry an infidel, to lose all of her sauceness, to win me the bet. You can see why Amalek made the bet. She'd so despise the killers of her own people that she wouldn't go near Callum Scott, a Jew-run puppet. But of course she did. Why? Oh, plenty of money. I need more money for my underground playpen with my pool and jacuzzi that I've been fighting the London Council to build for a long time. So, the Jewish Messiah is not Jewish, but in fact, Tim Rifat.